Pretty big update. Welcome, welcome. Pardon me, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just talking. I feel like it's a weird to just constantly do this, like, make sure you're, like, willing to participate thing where I, like, do this, like, intro. And so I like to maybe just fade that out. I just don't care and just get into it because why bother except for it's literally just energy. I mean, just understand hello. Hugs. Okay. With that in mind, I was kind of. Last time I talked about this, the doom shaped storm tracks. Shit, guys. So, ancient Dwarka. Let's go here. Let's go here. Okay. Bathymetric data. So, here's that Gujarat, India, like, beak tip. And here's Dwarka. Clear as day. Here's Dwarka, which means gateway to heaven, or like portal even. Just said to be built on 6 pillars or mounds. 2 on the right, 4 on the left. Dwarka was right here, where then the storm moved this way. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the storm trail, which then punctured the mantle because it was such an intense storm and caused the earth to expand. So it moves over here. And as it's doing that, as we talked about a bit, it's putting... I don't know why it's not zooming. It's putting ether, space, subtle particles in mass, space into the earth through a channel that then carves through the moho and then allows for venting of the mantle through here, which then channels out in all directions. But then when that happens, the storm moves this way. And as it's moving, it's carving with its currents along the surface this way to a sink where it drains between 2 polygon blocks, just draining this way. The currents are getting they're just flowing that way and bringing stuff with them and draining. And then it moves this way, and it gets again stuck on the boundary of the polygons here, it seems, where it then sends a current again this way into this sink, which is kind of moving along, creating like a moving position where it's actually causing the mounds to occur. And then this goes this way and carves double chakras of a shalogram feature, which then the energy of the current outlets here, causing this to basically, which was like here, is probably like here even, like physically up there, to just move apart until this side opens up as well and moves apart, and then the Earth's expansion stops enough where they kind of have enough resistance from all directions to stabilize in their current positions of how wide the openings are. And as the storm's here, it's also putting currents in this way and in this way, which are then causing this mantle to kind of thread over through the channel that this is carving, because essentially this space is flowing along the earth, carving channels into the earth that then drain to the mantle puncture hole. And while that's happening, the mantle puncture hole is emitting mantle material, which is then following the opening that the ether energy is carving to go to the mantle puncture hole. So it starts to upwell to a point where it upwells along all of the polygonal boundaries in this region. And then the storm itself moves the igneous province being emitted around while the energy flows are focused through a node between where multiple polygons meet. And so the energy flows specifically here. And so I kind of mapped the currents here. Last I showed this, I had some here. Kind of was getting an idea here. And then today I was like, okay, I made this nice big map of Gujarat that's like 5,000 pixels by 5,000. And I started to fill it, and here we are. So here it is. Here it is, guys. I'm excited. So I put some locations caused by this storm, like this hill, this hill, this hill, this, 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 this. So let's start by talking about this colorful rainbow region. So when the storm stops along this polygonal boundary and just kind of sits here, sending a current this way, it causes a vortex here because there's a shallogram shape. So we can know there was a vortex here. And what was happening is while this was widening, like when the nose of Gujarat, India was adjacent to this portion of also, I think, Gujarat, India, when it was over there, the current was flowing straight this way, though. Like this was the straight initially, like over here, then here, then here, then here, really probably more like that even, like along there. And maybe not completely there. That might have been as it like blew out something. Because essentially it would have just been more like this region, and then this vortex would have just started to carve around the edges and get a current through it until the current could flow, at which point it would begin to open this. So initially this would be over there. So if we imagine like this beak is up here, then this becomes more of a straight line with this. Like initially this is a straight line and it's going here. The current is flowing specifically here. And then if we look at the map, because this is maybe not quite as good, we can see it like little notches. So it gets kind of caught up on these, like here, these little teeth. It gets caught up on it. The current caught up on it. Jumps, 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 jumps. Jumps, 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 and then it kind of gets here and then there. So it just the whole way around is slowly opening this while continuously sending a wave this way. This is moving, so initially it's hitting here, but it's moving, so it starts hitting here, 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 and just carving this stretch until it locks in at a final node where like this current is not able to move it. So kind of in this region it's just stabilized. So that's what I drew there. That's what's going on there. Then there's like an actual physical arrow imprint here. I know this purple outline, given how much attention I gave to this and the rest of the map, this was pretty sloppy. But I was like, let's look at the map though. It's just this here, pretty much, or maybe here. Like there's a bunch of arrows, just lines going this way and lines going this way that kind of combine into just continuous arrow shapes with then like a square back here that makes it just like an arrow. So it's like an arrow pointing in the direction of the flow. So the flow is going in the direction of the arrow. As there's a storm moving here that's just pushing flow through Gujarat, into this polygon of Gujarat that I drew. It's kind of boundaries. It's pretty much just this as the boundaries. It goes in there. This is where the detail starts to come in that I added. Okay, so it's coming in this side as well from this current, which is colliding with this current coming in from this way. And so it pretty much produces that wall. And then this current coming in from the far side produces this general wall, I guess, over here. Not completely certain because it also, I guess this one with this maybe produces this, while these two maybe produce this one. Something of that nature. In a way where this becomes really solidly a wall, like part of this boundary. Because essentially this is going through here. This whole arrow moves like a bulk flow, I believe. That's kind of generally here. And then it's got a boundary, so this it comes this way. This way. Down here. Out here as well, but if it doesn't go out here, it looks like it mostly stays in the polygon. But it does have an outlet there. But if it does stay in the polygon, it goes up this way. It can also just go out this way, it looks like. Like if let's look at the map itself. I know I just drew over it, so it's kind of like, But here's the current, and then it comes up this way, and it can kind of just go out that way. But it does come around here, but I believe this is going this way and around, and this is going right here. There's like a spiral. That's like a chakra. Cool. And this spiral happens because this mound is being formed. Probably because there's a polygonal boundary here. So the current coming this way runs with current just generally coming out this way. Because these flows are also just coming this way across. I believe, at least. They're not like as rapid of currents, like the energy is not as propagating over here, so it looks like it kind of just like stalls. Maybe there's like a big ocean over here that's not quite as much motion, just producing like a border along the polygon where this current then runs into it and has basically joins it, and it spirals because of it and produces this region, which then produces this region, as well as just this like arcing out here to make this boundary go a little further like that. And then this same current coming down this way, it appears to have branches up like this way, which is probably part of this boundary going on. And then it can also come down this way, and so the reason this boundary is here is because it comes down this way, and then it splits around this section. So this thing is really, indicative that there's a splitting going on here. There's a current. We can kind of see it here in the same way as we can see it coming down here. So there's a current coming this way, actually. That's maybe here and here. I'm not sure exactly when it becomes two currents, but it comes this way. Around here, probably, like this boundary. Where this region is a spiral right here. But it comes around here, and it like runs into a spiral coming here, so it goes this way. But this spiral around Girnar is spiraling around, so it's running into it here, but it's joining it here, so they kind of merge here. And then over here, let's go back, is Osam Hill. So this current's coming this way. This current's coming up here, so it's kind of Osam Hill is related to this spiral here is happening, plus this current equals Osam Hill. Like the shape of it is very, very indicative of that kind of thing going on, where there's a current this way, and a current this way, causing this like little triple intersection thing that kind of, where there's this region is just kind of like probably not a complete vortex, like a slow swirl in like area, it looks like, towards like this region, which almost behaves as like a anode cathode for this overall section. But then the current just goes around, so ignoring this section where it joins, it goes around and kind of just goes up here, producing a resistance. Like this stretch is very like meandering, more like over here, where it doesn't have as much like major electrical lightning strike or river, if you want to go with that route, looking structures. But then over here, it definitely does this, like it really definitely comes over to the boundary. So this current comes over and runs into this whole boundary, so that's why for sure it's generally meandering up here, and then it goes up and around here. So anything coming from this side that runs into this boundary, with the exception of a little bit of like a couple channels that it punctures through, like here's a channel, here's a channel, here's a channel. Like it mostly is going just up this way. Some of it's coming and joining this, which is then essentially wrapping around, I guess. Like here, it must go up this way at that point and go around. Like maybe I could, although it doesn't look like it. It really looks like it just kind of goes to the boundary. But so, what else? What else? Then this current comes down around. I noticed. Let's go down there. I noticed on this segment there's a bunch of like little circular regions in the like edging, like right here. Like it kind of has these little bumps. They're not where like this structure has little indentations into it a bit. So I figured maybe there's some swirls here. Maybe it's not exactly what I drew. And this one, given this current, it could be coming this way. Maybe. I'm not sure. Let's look at the area a little bit, which maybe plays into this. Maybe. It's possible that's going that way, and then it's colliding with this one coming this way, so they both create an outlet this way. So maybe let's draw that as a possible alternative, likely alternative even, actually. Is that just this way, actually, and this way, which then lead to this. Okay, because of this basically coming in that way. So like not this, really. Not this. But mostly this though. Down here, like probably all these are coming off of this stream and just swirling and swirling and creating these little indentations up into here. Because the channel's down along the wall mostly, but it's like got this boundary zone that's got these little ins and outs. Suggestive of just like a ring of this kind of structure here. And then the currents that are not going towards Gujarat, but away out of it, that stay along this boundary here, though, come down here and collide with these currents. So essentially, they appear to have a circular indentation into this right here, which then emanates from it all these. So I'm thinking these two currents kind of collide there. Like this one actually is able to make it down here, and this one makes it down here, and they kind of collided here, creating just like a four-pointed star kind of thing, maybe, that just emanated out this way, and also in these ring type things. I don't know. And then also this current is kind of probably not very strong, like blocked off mostly, but meandering this way a bit, I think. This one. Then there's the main currents, which is coming in here, coming up this way, hitting this section. So it just creates this boundary here, kind of filling this space with the like main currents, like capacity to fill the space. So it branches out this way, but then it runs into this resistance. Branches out this way, runs into this resistance. And down this way, and runs into all this resistance, which then causes essentially the energy to flow this way. Okay. The coolest parts of this that I just did. This. I was looking at these, and I was like, if you look at them, they kind of look like they have a bunch of little flame shapes. Like here's one, but there's another like almost parallel one over here running with it, and they just go into Girnar, and they kind of branch out from it, like in these kind of V shapes. So I was like, it's almost like it's a flame, and I started really tracing these little lines sideways to the point where I was like, I think I can like legitimately say I think it's behaving like a flame. Like that's what these blue lines are, just tracing lines that I saw. And then I just filled them in with some flame colors. And so if we go back to these currents, like based on this, there's a current for sure going this way into Girnar, but then so it's coming around this way, running into a current then. Like that's why this is here, this structure. Just like this thing, it's like a 1 flow, 2 flow, 3 flow. So this flow fills this region, wherever exactly the boundary is. And then it starts to essentially meet resistance around and flow into this node and go down the drain. This is like an energy of ether flow, probably. Or it's the actual it's probably both the ether flow and the emissions of the Deccan traps. Simultaneously, like going down the drain and coming out, flowering like the lotus. So Girnar totally is like a lotus flower. Not only is it a hexagon, but it's got these little things on the side. Just going around it. Like there is really detectable, I'd say, here. That looks kind of like chakras. Like on a circular structure, but chakras none the same. Over here, like the way it just has petals. It's not just like as simple as I describe it or ever. But it has as a hexagon, I mean, it has petals. It's a lotus flower too. It's so many things. So I drew it as a lotus flower blooming from the flame of the doom-shaped storm. Also, Girnar National Park over here, which is just a mound caused by the currents, is my interpretation. At that point, though, I believe like these currents are accurate. These currents are accurate, and because they're accurate, they show that these structures I label, Barda Hills, Osam Hill, Girnar National Park, Palitana, Gulf of Kutch, Gulf of Kambat, Pavagad Hill, Wilson Hills, and just all of it, all the structure here is largely shaped and caused by this event of this doom shape of the earth expanding, this doom shape traveling through the region, across here, opening a hole in the mantle, through puncture holes here, over the boundary here, then it being pushed away when the puncture hole opened and coming down here and then causing all this. And so this little triangle thing in the base, also if we look at Girnar, the spiral into Girnar here, the triangle from the resistance, because this is going clockwise, this is going clockwise, and there's a current out here going westward. So this is clockwise, so it's putting a pressure this way. So there's a pressure going to the east here, but there's a pressure going to the southwest here, and there's a pressure going to the northwest here. So basically it holds in this shape, creating this little triangle segment, which is just in the currents. Like we can tell the currents would suggest a structure like that, and it's there. Okay, so that's my updated description of what's here. Also, does that? I guess that's maybe find a new way forward. See you later.